Hi everybody, welcome back. I am going to show you today how to make the best litter bag for your car that you've ever had. I'm going to do it in two sizes. I'm going to demonstrate one size on how to assemble this, but you'll love this because you can empty it from this end without getting your hands dirty from anything inside because this little flap. And I'll show you how to cut that and give you the measurements and everything. And so there's the big one, and here's one of the little ones. Put a big loop on it. This video isn't to teach you to sew, it's to teach you how to assemble this and make one of these for yourself. So here we go. So I'm going to start out with I'm going to make one of the small ones to demonstrate. The big one is made with larger measurements, and I'll give you that. Let's see what the finished size is. So the finished size is about 13 inches by about 8 inches, and this is made with 2 pieces of fabric with a side seam on either side. And the other one is made with only a side seam on one side. So this is the shape of the piece that you're going to cut. Let me get that out of there. You've got a little notch cut out over here, and you've got this cut off over here. And when we get to putting the zipper in, you're going to see why that is there. So this piece measures about 12 inches to here, to right here, and then about 12 3/4 or 13 inches down, including this flap. So what I did in order to make this one piece, I wasted this piece right here. So it's much easier to put this together if you do it this way. Okay, so let me get it set up and we'll go through the first things first. Okay, the first thing you want to do is get a 22-inch zipper and separate it. So you're going to cut off the little metal things. See these little metal things right here? You're going to cut those off. Gone. This, same thing, you're going to cut that off. Okay, then take the zipper pull, and then you have 2 separate pieces. So you want the teeth to be facing up. So the teeth will be up. So let's see. With the teeth up, you don't want the stitch to be right up here. You want the stitch to be somewhere close to the middle of this part of the band. So I want my stitch to be somewhere right in here, which is about 1/4 of an inch from this edge. Save this because you're going to need that later. So we're going to take the long piece the other side, the whole 22-inch piece, and start over here. And we're going to leave, you want to leave 1 inch at the beginning. So this is to get your zipper back, your zipper pull back on there. You need this at least 1 inch right there. So let's pin that, and then you'll put the bottom of the tape even with the bottom of this little cutout deal. And then put it right across there. And you can line it up over here at the left side with the top of that little notch where that notch is cut out. See where the notch is cut out? Okay, now I flipped my fabric and the zipper so that, and put the pins on this side so that I can sew it with the tape of the zipper down on the bed of the machine. The reason is this black fabric tends to stick to the bed of the machine, and so the zipper tape kind of keeps that from happening. So I'm going to sew it from this side. I can kind of see through it, and I can definitely feel it. So the next thing you want to do, now don't cut these off, leave these here for the time being. So the next thing you want to do is fold this flap like so. You're going to fold it right at the edge of the zipper tape. So you're going to fold that like so. So you're going to fold that and top stitch right along here. And that's just to keep it going the right direction. Your seam is going, you're sewing right along that edge. Okay, so this keeps this flap headed in the right direction because we want that flap to go just like that. Now you're going to top stitch all along here. So we're going to fold this this way, and make sure you've got all that kind of spread out. And fold this way. Okay, so I would adjust the needle position so that you can top stitch right along that edge right there. Okay, so here's what you have. You have the zipper going across there with the teeth facing the right side. The back of the zipper is to the inside, of course, and you sewed right across that flap, and then you turned the flap and top stitched on that before you top stitched the whole thing across. Now we're going to reattach the zipper pull to the zipper. So this ought to be good. Sometimes they're easy, and sometimes it takes me a little while to do it. So usually what I do on this one is try to get it where I want to even up Maybe I can do it this way better. So I want to even up the sides. You want it to be exactly opposite on the other side. So you pull those together, and sometimes you can put a safety pin there or do something to sort of hold them together. And since that, let me see here. Since that flap is underneath there, you can sort of pin that to that flap, and that'll hold it in place. I don't have it quite where I want it. Let me ease that up just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to make that pin go the other direction so that I don't stick myself. Okay, now, okay, so as you can see, you've got the edges of the fabric meeting each other so that they're just directly opposite each other. So here comes the fun part. So I'm gonna turn that inside out there just a little bit so that I can get my zipper down on the table. And I'm going to thread this long part that's still connected. I'm going to thread that on first to one side of this zipper. And I'm going to get it right up there close, just a little bit past the forward edge of this one. So get it little past, and then I'm going to, let me get rid of those threads. Okay, so with the little tail going this way and this going this way, I want to be able to push this side down in there real good. You're not going to get it to go far, but when you lay it down, it needs to be kind of even. You don't want to have a big pooch over here. So then the easiest thing to do that I have found is to put my fingers on it like this and take this and just hold those two ends of the tape down and thread it like that. And so once you have it started, you're good to go. And then I can take this pin out and go ahead and zip the rest. I can zip that the rest of the way. And our flap is in the right place. See, what happens is that little flap, this little flap is going to cover the zipper on the inside and keep the trash from touching the zipper. So when this is what the bottom inside looks like. You have that flap covering the zipper on the inside of the bag. And so that's just a protective thing that I thought was pretty handy, because if you're going to have to use your hands to to release the garbage that's in there, or the trash, Kleenex and napkins and things, if you're going to release that with your hands, you don't want all that stuff falling out until you're kind of ready for it to. Now, before you go any further, you need to bar tack across these teeth so that that zipper doesn't accidentally start coming apart and you'll have to thread it again. So let's do a bar tack. Let's see. Boy, doing this on camera is a lot different from doing it when nobody's watching. It's hard to not knock the camera over. So I'm going to get even with the edges of this fabric, this black fabric. I'm going to do a bar tack that's just right in line with that middle needle position. I had to get a drink there. Okay, middle needle. And put it on your zigzag, but put it where it doesn't advance. So it's 0 stitch length, which is known as a zigzag bar tack. It's just gonna hold those teeth together so they don't come apart. And you might want to take one just ahead of it because you're gonna have a 1/4 inch stitch seam allowance over here, so that'll be all in there. Okay, so there it is. I've got 2 little bar tacks right there together. And now I can cut this off. That zipper off right in line with the seam allowance, or the edge of the fabric there. Okay, so now we've got that. This is secured. It's all turned right side out. Okay, so here's what we've got so far. So far we have the zipper in the bottom and the flap. The flap protects the zipper inside there, right? Just like that, right? Okay, and we've got the zipper on the top and it's gonna go like this. So we're gonna put a little tab. Let me find one here. We're going to add this down here by the zipper. That's just so you can hang on to it while you close the zipper. And we're going to add this loop out of the leftover zipper. So take about 2.5 or 3 inches of one of these zippers. Do it on the shortest one because, yeah, you want the long one for the handle. So do it from the short one. So there's 3 inches right there. So cut off 3 inches and fold it in half with the outside of the teeth on the outside of the fold. So you stick this with the folded part to the inside, because when you turn it inside out, then it'll be sticking out like this one is instead of sticking in. So we're going to put that right inside that deal. And I'm going to mash it just a little bit to make it sit down, behave. So I'm going to line those little tabs, the little tape to the zipper, and push it down there as far as you can get it. If it's not all the way down there, it really doesn't matter. So see where that little notch in that pattern came out? Now you have your 1/4 inch seam and you don't have to worry about getting your little flap stuck in there. Okay, so let's make sure we've got enough everything, and I'm going to pin that so that that little deal doesn't jump out of place. Okay, so now I'm ready to sew it. This is a very old Pfaff 1222E. This machine is probably the best sewing machine I've ever used, and mostly it's manual. There's no computerized stuff on it. I've made men's suits, I've made sleeping bags, I've made quilts, blankets, you name it. I've made it on this sewing machine. And I keep having it serviced and everything to make it last. And the last time I was there, the guy was telling me that you just can't get parts for these anymore. And so I'm going to be very sad if this thing ever gives out, because Pfaff isn't in business. Well, they sold their company to another company. I think it was Genome or Genome or whatever, however you say that, and that company. See, the big thing about this machine is this walking foot. Let me get that around here where you can see it. I got to hold on to this walking foot thing back here, that it provides a feeder dog on the top of the machine, as well as the feed dogs that are down here. And so you can match plaids and have your seams be just totally perfect on this machine. Okay, now I'm going to go back to a 2.5 length stitch, needle position in the middle, because I'm going to do a 1/4 of an inch seam, and I'm starting about 1/2 inch this way because I'm going to back stitch and then stitch forward. Sometimes when you're on a lump like that, that's the best way to do it. So I'm going to back stitch and then go forward, and then we're going to do about a 1/4 of an inch all the way down to the other end. Okay. And then just to reinforce the seam, although I don't think it's really necessary, I'm going to zigzag on the edge of that. I have a serger, and I could use it on this fabric. It's also a Pfaff serger. It's very capable of working on this kind of nylon screen wire type material, but it isn't necessary, and I believe that it would be overkill. So I'm just going to match that up as good as I can. Give that a little pull there. Now, what'll happen is and then back stitch right there, your teeth on your zipper one will go over the other one. So you're going to be just a little bit high on one side, which is just fine. This is not rocket science, right? So as you can see, when you open this out, you're just going to have ones, and I'll show you how to camouflage that here in a second. Okay. So we got the bottom, we got the top, we got the seam. This isn't quite even, so I'm going to trim this off. I didn't want to buckle the fabric. So I'm going to do this. Okay, now I'm going to zigzag over that. Put you right here. Ziggity zag. I do slow down when I'm going over lumpy stuff, just out of respect for the age of the machine and so forth. Just don't want to have to buy a new machine. Okay, so here we go. This is almost done. All we have to do is put the top loop on and we are finished. Okay, so now we're going to take the longest piece of our zipper. So we've got this long piece. We're just going to fold it with the teeth out on the outside, match up the ends. Probably wouldn't hurt to stick a pin in there because they tend to want to flop apart. So we just hold that right there. And then we're going to take this. Oh, let's turn this inside out. I like this screen material because it's stiff. It's, I guess you could call it ventilated because it will let the air through, so anything that has moisture on it in your little litter bag will dry, theoretically. And so, but it's not going to be waterproof. You can't pour a drink in there and expect it to stay there because it'll go it'll drip through. Probably won't go fast, but it will leak. So let's get that little guy. Now see how our little thing is, our little loop right there. If you just grab hold of that little loop, pull on that, and you got a nice little corner there. Stick that little flap back inside, and there's the bottom. So take this and finger press this seam that's on the side. Just mash the seam down, help it. Okay, now you can choose whichever side you want to fold this to, but whichever way you fold it, you want the side of the tape that doesn't have the teeth on it to be to be right up next to that. So if you're going to put the thing there, you want to fold that over to that side. And this is one way that you can camouflage the fact that those are not perfectly even. So I'm going to stick it right there, and that's where I'm going to nail it down with a couple of bar tacks. So the teeth of the handle are on the outside of this, and so I've got this folded so that there's as little bulk as possible. Maybe I'll show you on this one. On this one, this little green one, this is the outside, and I put 3 bar tacks in a row. Oh, actually, I probably had it turned the other way. So you could do them, vertically, or you can do them horizontally. Let's do them vertically. I kind of like that. I mean horizontally. Now this loop, for whoever you're making one of these for, you may need a longer loop. I made one for my car, and the loop wasn't quite as long as this, but I did have to augment it with a little chain that I had, so a little ball chain that was like a key ring size type thing. And okay, I think I'm ready to do this. Now I'm going to take the pin out because I hate to run over pins. So bar tack coming up, here we go. Bar tack, bar tack, bar tack. Okay, now I'm going to advance it just a little bit to hit it kind of in the middle of that tape. And it's also going to hold that seam rolled over to that side, so does double duty right there. Okay, advance it just a little bit more and bar tack it again. All right, so let's get it out of there and cut the threads. Now let's see what we've got. And you have a very sturdy connection right there. So now you have your little handle, and this is a finished length of about 13 inches. So I put this thing right over my gear shift knob, or my gear shift is in the floor. That goes on the end of the little zipper. That just adds a nice little touch. So you have something to hang on to on this side. You ought to have something to hang on to here. So with this piece if you're using a 22-inch zipper, with this is what you're going to have left after you put the handle on. So if you take some scissors and trim really close to the teeth so that all you have left is that little plastic coil, plastic, nylon, whatever. So you get really close to that so that you have something sort of, okay. So you might be able to use that for something. Okay, so take this just, the little hole in the end of this zipper is kind of small on this size of a zipper. And so you can't get anything too big through there. And so you're just going to do like so. And I have to have my cotton pliers to get this through here. Here are my cotton pliers. So you don't have a lot of room to tie this in a knot, so I just take them both and do kind of what I call a half hitch. Is kind of like that. And then I'm going to reach through there with those cotton pliers, if I can, and pull that through. This little thing is kind of stiff, and so it's a little difficult to handle, and I've got old hands. Well, let's see. I've got some raveling. You may have just a little bit of raveling. It won't continue to ravel, so you just have to cut those off until it quits raveling. The closer you get when you're cutting it to the little coil, the less raveling you'll have. Okay, get in there. Alright, here we go. Flip. I know it's there. There, alright. Okay, so now we got both ends. Whoops, we had both ends. And then roll that knot towards the zipper to just push it up there. And that'll never come undone, especially if you put a little glue or something on there. But I don't think it's going to be necessary. It's not like it's going to get used a lot. There. There we go. So now you have a nice, cute little tassel. All right, kiddos, make about 100 of those and let me know how it comes out. Take care. Oh, I'm going to show you how it looks in my car. I backed the car out so I could show you this is my little prototype, and it's made out of fabric. I don't recommend fabric because it sort of hangs on to the napkins and things that are in there. There's the little chain I was telling you about that I used to hang on to mine because it needed to be just a little longer. I like this one because the handle seems to be long enough for this particular car, and the gear shift is in the console, that's in the floor, and the thing is stiffer out of non-cotton fabric, out of this screen material, and so it just reaches the floor. It's not really in the way of anybody sitting on the passenger side here, and so that just works out perfect.